Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Early Years Insights. I'm Kathy Leatherbarrow and today we've reached the grand finale of season 2. So we're bringing you future-proofing the nursery. We've created the most impactful moments from this season to give you a masterclass in running a setting that is profitable, professional and full of heart. Let's dive into our first chapter, the resilient mindset. Hello and welcome to Eden's Early Years Insights with me, Kathy Leatherbarrow. Today I've got the lovely Lucy Lewin with me from the Profitable Nursery Academy.
That's
Have I got that right?
You have, yeah.
You said I've been practicing that.
You can tell, but it rolls off the tongue, right? Full disclosure, I'll have to tell you off air what my dream to be was as a child. But not until I started being a childminder did I realise I wanted a nursery.
This is me.
Yeah, but 8 years in, it is literally everything I want. So after I'd finished crying into my pillow, I decided that I would do whatever it took to become the person that I needed to be, to have the business I wanted, but also that my team and the families deserved. I'd like to say again, tap to tidy, but the next year, 2019, was the most enlightening yet busiest, emotionally raw year of my business journey because I had to hold the mirror up. I had to keep saying to myself, what is true? What do I believe is true? And where am I getting in my own way? So I think it's really important to not be frightened to train people, even if they're going to leave. I think, is it Mel Robbins that has that famous thing at the moment, which is let them. If they're going to go, let them. But just think about how you're getting the very best out of them today. Have a plan, talent map, work out what skills you've got, what's missing. Always have a talent strategy. So always be thinking about how you can look for your single points of failure. So if you've got somebody in your nursery that's only got that skill, and if that person left, would it leave a huge skills gap? Make sure you're recruiting. I hold recruitment evenings twice a year, even if I don't have any recruitment gaps. And, we make job offers to people that are 3-4 months in advance because that's when we need them, rather than, oh my goodness, they've just handed their notice in, I need somebody next week. And I think that's really important. And this leads back to that whole thing around, if you know your numbers, if you can put all of those, the financial side, into a system and process so it holds it, this is what it frees up your time to do. And not even time, headspace. If you're not worrying about the numbers because they're in a system. I'm not saying that knowing the numbers makes the numbers better. I'm just saying when you've got the data, you can make better decisions. Choices and decisions. And what you'll find is that you'll have time to innovate. You'll have time to think. You know what you might even have time to do? Go and get your nail and hair done. If that's what you want. I now work, and this is what I think is really interesting. I spend 5 hours a month working on my nursery. So I've got a profitable nursery. We were part of the Ofsted pilot. So although you don't get an official grade from the pilot,
you get a good understanding of it. You know about the terminology and the language that they're using.
And she was definitely grading us in that strong side. So for us, that's brilliant. But 5 hours a month is all I need to work on my nursery.
Gosh.
I can choose to spend 50 hours a week in there. But if and when I'm in there now, I'm doing the future-facing things. I'm doing the fun things. I'm going in now and doing cooking with the children. I'm going in and doing, like just fun things with the team and with the staff. And because I've got the time and space to think about it. I'm going to here and doing things like this because what I've done is I've stabilised the ship. The systems and the processes do the heavy lifting. The financial reporting allows us to stay on track. So I've got more time. And as a result, quality's gone up. Morale's gone up. The team, the team is just amazing. It's always been amazing. But I think
everybody understands their role and their purpose.
They've got a purpose. And I think, again, linking that back to Gen Zs want to work in organisations where their purposes align. They want to feel like they're contributing to something bigger than themselves. So if you don't have a vision for your setting, if you don't have a clearly defined mission about where you're going and a strategy of how you're going to get there, you're not going to retain the workforce anymore.
And they need to see, a progress for themselves, don't they?
That personal progress.
Yes.
I also think as well, so my nurseries, our vision is to be the flexible childcare solution for busy families.
Yeah.
And our values that underpin that are to be fun, flexible and full of love.
Yeah.
Every decision or every action or interaction that we do has to align with those values.
Yeah.
And I always say to people, come along to my setting, and if you don't understand what I'm talking about, come along to my setting and see it in action. Because you will know and see fun, flexibility and how it's full of love in action. And I think that's when you've got your vision and your values right. Because you need a North Star. You need that not mating call, that's not the right word, but do you know what I mean? You need that thing, that reason that people follow you.
Yeah.
And actually, I see again different nurseries that will have these like really long, beautifully framed visions on the wall. I'll go and ask a member of staff, what's the vision for here? What's your mission? Like, what are your values? What do you stand for? Can't tell me.
No, it's not embedded, is
Live it, don't laminate it.
It's got to be embedded, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Having that North Star vision is essential, but you can't reach it alone. Our next chapter focuses on the people who make it happen, from the fresh energy of apprentices to the vital presence of men in the workforce. Here is how we build a team that lasts. Right, apprenticeships.
Well, I was an apprentice, so I'm all for apprenticeships. I'm a big advocate.
And, there's a big government drive as well, isn't there, at the moment, about early years apprenticeships.
Yeah.
Obviously, we love early years apprenticeships here at Eden. And then, obviously, we've got a great partnership with yourselves. But if it's a good quality nursery and setting, and you've got that good support along with a good training provider, you're going to really grow good quality staff, aren't you? Yourself, that you can just lead on a pathway to excellence,
We've
really,
got
in a good career.
A lot of our directors of our individual nurseries now saying that kind of grow your own
talent.
That's kind of a really important phrase at the moment as such, but it's important to have that within the nurseries to say that, we have got a recruitment crisis, many sectors do, but particularly in the early years. So if you are able to attract talented individuals that are interested in an apprenticeship that you can train and mould, and then you really can grow your own workforce. And we're really seeing that in our network, aren't we?
Yeah, it's absolutely vital. And I think, we've gone with it. It's something our director's been talking about for a while, hasn't he? He's always said we need a scheme that goes from apprentice to manager, and how do we help them through that journey? So obviously we've been working with yourselves now. So between Banana Moon and Eden, we are going to be looking at developing something that takes them, that when that apprentice starts, that we're not just going to stop it once you've got your level 2 or your level 3. We want to be growing our own. We want you to be a future leader at Banana Moon. So putting everything into place, and that's down to their induction right the way through to induction as an apprentice, right the way through to their induction as a manager. And the way we've tackled that is through working again with Eden to develop a induction document that supports them to really understand our curriculum and what it means to deliver an inspiring curriculum at Banana Moon, but also to support them with their course content. So when they're looking at their themes, how does each element of our curriculum relate to the theme that they're working on through their apprenticeship? We're very lucky that on our team we've got somebody who has delivered apprenticeships as well. So again, she understands it. She uses the same language as you do as well. So she's been able to be that go-to between, translating Eden's language to our language, and again, even having that as a terminology buster, so we understand when we're using one word and their tutors use another, helping them understand that means the same thing. So helping it be as easy as possible for them to understand the content and how they support each other.
And that sometimes can be a difficulty, can't it? Because if you've got a curriculum that you're working to yourself in terms of your learning through your apprenticeship, and then a curriculum that you are on within the nursery setting itself that on paper don't look like they correlate.
Yeah.
And
I think
that's just mind blowing from the side,
because
isn't it?
if you think, even down, if you look at the areas of learning, so the areas of learning named in Development Matters, for example, are not the same areas of learning that we name. So we've created, so to make it confusing for them. So we've created a toolkit to make sure that they understand where that correlates between. And the way we've done it is to try and streamline it and make it easier for EYPs. But you've got to make sure that they know how the two correlate from day one, because we're trying to make their life easier, not more difficult. We want their apprenticeship to be a positive experience, not a, oh gosh, where am I? And again, we've got nurseries that are just so wonderful at supporting apprentices. We've got nurseries out there across the network that they'll have a WhatsApp group that's their current apprentices and their apprentices from have just graduated, and they'll be in the same WhatsApp group.
A mentor group.
Like a little mentor group to support each other. And that's wonderful practice. Then they share the work they're doing with other nursery managers, then other nursery managers can put that in place with them. And it helps all those little tips and tricks help those apprentices feel supported. So I think it
empowers learning, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course it does. And this is just the start of the journey. You know, we've not been working together in partnership for that long, really. It's quite a young partnership, but we are looking forward to being able to do that straight from apprentice to manager, and even area managers where we have multiple unit franchisees. It's that's something that we can look at for those.
So let's have a little discussion about men in early years, because they are amazing
Yes,
in early years,
absolutely.
and just in any form of childcare and development. They enhance a setting
Tenfold, yeah.
immensely.
Yeah.
So we want to encourage more men into the
we do.
sector, don't we?
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
so beneficial. But also, there's a lot of support for men in early years as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
Because they can feel very isolated
Yes.
being on their own. Do we support much men in early years?
Yeah, a few, but
Yes.
not as many as we'd like to.
Yes. There's
So
certainly more room for more support for men in early years.
There
But we
is.
do have a few.
Yeah, we do have a few men that work in our settings across Eden, and we've offered support to some of those
For a variety of
to-
different things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they are underrepresented in the sector. There's no doubt
Absolutely.
about that. And it can be tough for them, but what role models they are when they're in setting, and children gravitate towards them. They've got that positive male role model figure that that they don't have often in early years settings, and that's something that really is so
It's so valuable, so
um,
valuable.
for children and for other practitioners as well. To have those different perspectives, those different ideas and skills and attributes that men bring to caring for children.
And challenging stereotypes.
Absolutely,
as well,
yeah.
isn't it?
Absolutely.
And that can take its toll as well. I know you wrote a blog post on kind of the impact of kind of that lack of representation and how important it is for us to, and I think as a company, to promote that men in early years. And I think that that's something that certainly within our teams we try to kind of promote and get that awareness out there that it is a really challenging kind of sector for a male to choose to go into, but when they do, it's so valuable.
And we're here to chat about training, because you are the training coordinator there at Shining Stars.
I am, yes.
It's a really important job you've got, isn't it?
I feel that it's a really important job, and it's a role that's been developed by our director, Paul. It's a new role.
It's
Paul
exciting.
actually approached me about the role.
Oh, nice.
He developed it and he'd kind of got sort of the tasks of the role and what he thought in his head was going to be this kind of role, and he'd put it forward to me and decided that with my skill set and knowledge and expertise in the childcare, because I've been in childcare 20 years. So he said, we've got some apprentices in the nursery. Would you be willing to come along and kind of trial a role of being our nursery's training coordinator?
It's exciting.
So yeah, it was developed for myself based on kind of my past experiences in childcare, and we spoke about the role and what it entailed, got on board both nursery managers, because Shining Stars Day Nursery has 2 settings. One's based in the centre of Halifax, and one is based at Illingworth. Both settings, we have around 50 staff that work across both settings. We have obviously the structure of the nursery from 2 nursery managers, 2 deputy managers, room leaders and the practitioners. We started off with a smaller number of apprentices when I first started. I started in September 23. I think we had about maybe 6 or 7 at that point, but within a year we've developed the role and obviously the quantity of apprentices that we now have. In summer we had 16.
Oh wow.
Out of that 16, 5 of them qualified, which was amazing, because obviously I was part of that journey for them. I'd obviously been their mentor and educated them through the different topics in early years, and then by summer of this year we got to the point where they were ready for their endpoint assessment.
So that's exciting.
It was nice to see them go on their learning journey really, and to see them flourish into new practitioners for the setting. So that was nice to see the confidence being built. Everything that they'd learned over their journey put into practice as a qualified member of staff.
The nicest thing about it is that, with apprenticeships especially, and with early years, that hands-on work and experience is vital, isn't it? That's learning that you can't get in a classroom, isn't it?
I think what I enjoy most about the role is knowing that I can provide the practical competencies and knowledge, skills and behaviours within that practical role, and knowing that each learner develops differently, so we can focus on different topics throughout the year. We can work as a group together. How we work in our particular setting is each apprentice is given their 20% off the job by spending that quality time with myself.
Oh, wonderful.
So we actually have the privilege of being able to staff that, facilitate that for the apprentices.
So you can support them with that learning as well.
What I do is I do observations. So I'll go in, and an average week might consist of looking at different observations and going in and doing some practical work with the apprentices. But when they are scheduled out on the rota to have some one-to-one time or group time, we do spend working on different topics. I've developed training around communication, behaviour, observations, assessments. Safeguarding is a massive one.
That's huge.
Safeguarding and health and safety courses that I have bespoke provided really, using like elements of the EYFS and also the policies and procedures of our setting. I've kind of used both of those methods to create my own training for them.
Once you have your vision and your team, what does that look like within the nursery? In this chapter, we look at professional curiosity and how we can move beyond the statutory requirements to create environments where children truly thrive. Plays are really, it's always been important, hasn't it? But I think more so at the moment, there's, the importance of plays come out again, hasn't it, to fruition, and, connection before curriculum, and if you've got that connection and that play, then I'm not saying you don't have to worry about curriculum, but it comes more naturally, doesn't it? And children repeat and retain easier through play than a well-planned and well-resourced activity, really.
100%. I have very strong opinions about the term curriculum and activity. I completely agree with this idea that I suppose we're trying to fit quite a lot into our day, aren't we? That's
Yeah.
the thing. And I think a lot of people
Yeah.
hit the ground running, in inverted commas, in September or whenever the children first come in, to try and make as much impact as possible, to teach as much as possible. And we really feel that pressure, internally as well as externally, about what we've got to cover. But I think we often forget that actually, if you don't have a relationship with the children, if they don't want to be with you, you're really going to be, slogging it out for quite a long time, getting them to understand what you're trying to say. Yeah, a lot of my work at the moment is trying to shift from activity led, being this idea of seeing something online or, trying to fit into a learning objective, to following the play of the children, to recognize their natural play rhythms, what they're bringing with them from home, really trying to step into their world, and give them ownership as well over what they're doing with us. It's a very short period of time that they're with us.
Yeah.
And there's so much learning to be had, of course, and it can happen, but we need to respect and value what they're bringing with them.
Yeah. And what life is like, what their life is like at that time, isn't it? And then, all those enriched vocabularies would naturally come through play, don't they?
100%. Yeah. The interactions is so important. I mean, it's always been recognised as very important, but I think it's more so important now than it ever has been, because we've got a lot of children coming to us with play diets from home or outside of settings where it's an awful lot of screen time, perhaps it's an awful lot of passive communication. So, parents might be on their phones or doing something else while they're talking to children. So actually, we need to be able to maintain those genuine, honest, real conversations with children where we show an interest in them. I'm not being critical about what parents are doing. Parents are very busy, and it's the world we live in right now. But it makes it even more important in our settings that we can focus on those early skills of being able to attend to the children, take turns, listen very carefully to what the people around us are saying. Those are life skills that they can use later on.
Absolutely. How do you truly know where a child is at in their learning if they can't demonstrate it and you observe it naturally, isn't it? Continuous provision. Some people love it, some people loathe it, some people get it right and understand it, some people don't get it right and don't understand it. And creating zones, and I feel like there's this ideology of what continuous provision should look like. And I think you're on my same way pattern here, James, where it could look different in every single room or setting, dependent upon the age and, progress of children. For example, the one that comes to my mind instantly is shelves, like a colouring station at the table where there's pens and papers and stuff like that. And usually the pens may be organised in pots of different colours. But if they know the colours, if they're that age where they know the colours, then why are they sorted like that? Where's the learning intention there for that bit of am I right on your
100%.
your way of thinking? So I'm just, although it looks lovely, to really get underneath continuous provision and make it working truly effectively, there has to be a lot more thought into it, doesn't there?
They do. It's a really big problem in the sector at the moment. One, the terminology continuous provision is not a universally accepted term. The definition is different for different people. For me, continuous provision is meant to be the continuous resources that are there every day. And there's a real process to choose what those might be. To some people, continuous provision is everything in the room, including your enhancements. But it's really important we recognise enhancements are there for a different purpose. They're there to move the learning forwards, to be broader in the learning, whereas continuous provision is about going deeper. But for me, the biggest issue, I suppose, is many people look online, look on Pinterest, and I know I've contributed to this myself. When I very first started my Nursery Nook Facebook page, about a decade ago, probably now, I was putting pictures of my classroom up. I was so thrilled to share what I was doing. And looking back on it, thinking, actually, I worry that some people copy those things wholesale without recognising that I worked in an inner city school in Bradford with a very different cohort than, say, perhaps a different part of the country, maybe a leafy lane school in the middle of a village. So it's recognising what I call the culture of your children. So what they're bringing to the setting with them, what experiences have they had before they've come to you, what do they expect to get from the space, what's their play diet been like, what kind of toys, resources have they played with. it's all very well going down the route of having open-ended resources in your continuous provision, which I really do advocate for. But if you've got children coming to you who've never experienced being able to play with open-ended resources at home, to them, they will just see them as ornamental. This, what can I do with those? It's not a toy that I'm used to being bought for Christmas or being given as a present. So we have to recognise where the children are at and then build our continuous provision to reflect that. So the coloured pencils in the pot's a really good example. So if you have children who are working at a level where they still need to be sorting their colours, they need to be learning about the language of the colours, what a lovely activity to be doing at tidy up time, to look at the collection of pencils and think, oh, actually, I've got my red pot here. Where are all the red pens? Is that a red one? That might be a blue one. Is that the same? Is that different? And that's where the new learning comes from, that vocabulary is built. But if you've got children who can do that without your support, children who don't need any more help to sort colours because they know them really well, we need to go in a different direction. Your continuous provision could be set up so they are sorting by type, so pencils, pens, highlighters, etc. But you could also do by colour if you want to, but maybe you look at shades, so have light blue and dark blue. It's about making sure that whatever you're putting in continuous provision is pitched at the right level for your children, so they can do it partially independently, but there's learning to be had about moving forward and going deeper.
It's making them just stop and think slightly, isn't it? On, is this right? Or is it, and then that's where your support comes in, doesn't it, from your adults? But I can see there's going to be a real emphasis on your special educational needs children, your children living in poverty, your deprived children, any child with a minority, so, it's all about this narrowing the gap, whatever the gap may be, on whether it's SEN, social, economical, you're only going to be as good as your weakest, as your weakest child or family, and the one that needs the most support. And that's going to be tough, isn't it?
I think for some nurseries it will be tough, but I think you'll have other nurseries that will rise to it.
Absolutely.
I mean, we've got some wonderful stories of nurseries already. That we have 3 wellbeing pledges, and one of them is how we support families. And we've already got nurseries that I know nursery managers have taken the family to the food bank because rather than them having to put it on the bus and take it home, and they've arranged to do things like that. So those sorts of nurseries are already rising to it and doing it, and they are supporting those families as best as they can. But for nurseries where it's not been something that they've had to do that much, it's going to be a big change for them. So I think it's about, reading those good stories that are happening, that beautiful work that's happening out there already, and thinking, how can I make this work for my nursery? If you're a small nursery, that's, you could be a pack-away nursery, that's going to be hard for you to do.
Absolutely. And I think it comes back to, again, doesn't it, that, as you call it, the professional curiosity. You're not being nosy, you're not being intrusive if it's done correctly with empathy. It's about empowering a child and a family, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
That family needs to know that you don't just want the best for the child, you want the best for the whole family.
And with no judgment, isn't it?
No judgment, absolutely.
Yeah.
As we look to the future, we have to talk about the foundation of everything we do, safety. We were joined this season by Lewis Steeper, and while his story is heart-wrenching, his mission is one of incredible resilience. It reminds us that future-proofing isn't just about finances, it's about a culture of uncompromising safety. And do you want to explain how you've been behind the move? In our, what regulates us as early years practitioners with the EYFS.
Very early on, we was thrown into the EYFS. We sat there reading, not understanding, we're not childcare practitioners, we've never been in the industry, we don't know nothing about it. And we had a very steep learning curve quite quickly because the police investigation was focusing on items around the EYFS. So we wanted to be up to speed. So when they come to us, we had an understanding of what they were saying, kind of thing. So
where it said should or where it said must.
Shoulds and musts are very important in the EYFS.
And so we was going through it, and I said to Zoe, things have got to change. Things have got to change, and we was very fortunate that our local council came to us and wanted to do a safer eating campaign. So we naturally said absolutely, and they came, and Laura came to see us, and we had a few teams meetings, and they said, can we use Ollie's face for it? And I was like, oh my God. And at the time, we just thought this was like a local type thing. And then, so we did some filming with them talking about it, and then when it was rolled out, we got sent the graphics that had been done and everything, obviously before it went out, and we was just blown away. You know, how simplified these graphics were, not just for nursery practitioners and staff, but for parents. Yeah. Because, you know, there was no what we wanted, and they did it without us even saying. But like, we imagine like you have like 3 plates on a graphic in a nursery, and the nursery is saying to the parents, what stage of food is your children at, and they can point. Rather than trying to explain, they can point, and that being taken forward was incredible. Yeah. You know, and then so we got launched into that, and then it went national. The whole thing went national. I'd been talking to DFE quite a bit. I got the impression I was not wanted. Oh. You know, because obviously they're the best. They know. We can call that bit out. You know. You know, so
you heard we're not disagreeing.
No, yeah. Don't get me started on Ofsted. But you know, kind of, we got thrown into it, and when it went national, and that, you know, that bit of pay that was being put into the UFS. Yeah. You know, we was over the moon.
What do you think the key changes that have been made are the ones that you feel that you've won the most with, like you've achieved what you were aiming to get with?
So certainly now the paediatric first aid.
Yeah.
So for everyone to have everyone that works with a child has to. We learned that very early on in the police investigation, that there was a loophole. So anyone that qualified pre-2016 didn't have to have an in-date first aid certificate counting the ratios, because there's obviously the ratios is another thing that we tackled. Yeah. So that gap needed closing. Mm-hmm. We went to DFE and said, needs closing.
Then, as a manager, you've got to reflect on that, haven't you?
Yeah.
And, you know, and make your management approach different. So
and I think just down to we were talking about telling the time, weren't we?
Oh,
we were saying that younger people now are obviously telling the time more on their phone or smartwatches. Yeah. So it'll be 24-hour clocks. So when you show them I think it's 1 in 10 they say now can't read a clock face. Yeah. So if your clock is a clock face in your staff room and they're late back from lunch, change the clock.
But who's responsible?
Change
for
the
that?
clock.
Yeah. It's about reflecting on what they need in the workplace and how they come to work, because I think for a lot of people the workspace is set up for just perhaps how we've always had it, or it's just always been that way.
It's not
or
evolved.
It's the process we've always done.
Yeah.
Well, could we change something? Is there a way to make that a little bit more accommodating for the next generation that's coming through? Because they're challenging our thinking on so many ways. And sometimes I think we try and say, well, no, this is the way we do it. But actually, could we change things a little bit more, and could we adapt?
Doesn't mean to say it's got to continue.
Yeah.
I mean, if a child was struggling in the nursery, you would change the environment, not the child.
Absolutely.
So why don't we do the same for our staff teams?
Yeah.
So it's just taking it to our whole staff team. It's that whole thing. If the flower's not growing, then you change its environment, don't you? And that's the same for our children and our staff.
Yeah. And that brings us to the end of season 2. Thank you for all our guests and especially our listeners. Here's to season 3, where we'll explore even more innovations shaping our sector. Stay curious, stay resilient, and we'll see you in the next season.